Hello everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of the People, Passion, and Purpose podcast from Pungidasa. So, this is season 2, episode 1, and I have, as usual, a very interesting personality here with me as a guest. Before I introduce him to you guys, welcome Madan to this podcast. So, thank you for opening this year's special episode series with you. It's a pleasure to have you on our podcast. Madan is a distinguished veteran of being in many countries. So he has a civil engineering background, has been deputy manager for a lot of organizations in the Middle East, and he has like a success story that he wants to share with us, from humble beginnings that started from Tumkur, then made its way to old school Rajaji Nagar, and then in the early 90s made a jump to Dubai, and then to Muscat, and to various other parts of the world. Uh, it's a joy to have you with us, Mr. Madan, and over to you. So, if at all you had to summarize your journey from the 1970s, the early 1970s, to now, over a period of the last 50 years, so how has it been, and what does success mean for you?
Good afternoon, Mr. Sunil. My name is Madan Rao in full. The Rao becomes the family name, and it was pleasure. It is pleasure to have you on the other side of the panel, and I'm in fact pleased to share a few thoughts, few success stories, and what brings success into your becoming a person. I studied in a school which is Vidyavardhaka Sangha. I'm thankful to the alma mater, which is a great school, which I would say that that was my first platform where your basic foundation education is which is taken care, and then which is very important for anyone to have a basic education which is very strong, and every success lies on a good education foundation and the background of the surrounding people with whom you are brought up. So I was fortunate enough to have good parents, first of all, and a good environment, good school, as I said, the surroundings of my school vicinity, be it cultural activities, be it sports activities. And there was an overall development for me to get whatever something out of the so many things which was around me. Like as it says, there is a Chinese proverb, I'm sure there should be an Indian version as well. If you want to um, uh, feed a person, don't feed him with the food, give him a basic. So that's what I think my parents thought. It is better to give the kids a better education so that they make their own hay, or make their own grass, or make their own food. That was a journey from the school, Vidyavardhaka, almost from the primary school to higher secondary school. God's grace, I came in good distinction colors. And then later on, +2 in Nijlingappa College. And then those were the days where the engineering and medical college were there, and went through the entrance exams and qualified through the Bangalore University panel and joined Siddhaganga Institute of Technology in Tumkur. Well, I just wanted to chemical engineer to follow my footsteps of my dad, who is good in chemistry. By the way, I was very good in chemistry, but destiny to civil engineer, never regret after the 50 years, or rather in the mid of my career. And then later on, I did my engineering in Tumkur SIT from Bangalore University, and stuck with the very first job to build an industrial complex for TVS Electronics.
Oh, wow.
Learning, project. I would say I learned the basics of the civil engineering, a practical application or implication of whatever you studied in engineering courses, the technical. So we always think that what we studied in engineering, whatever the subject, I wouldn't call it engineering, any basic graduation course, which is all important. Whatever from
Absolutely.
your be it social studies, be it mathematics, physics, you can never say that it is irrelevant to me. Because I later realized that every subject is very important. Like if I didn't know when I visited Turkey later on, I didn't know who is Ottoman, who invaded, what was the Turkey and German war, and what was World War II and all that. So you need to know the biopolitical,
Absolutely.
geopolitical, the knowledge which comes from history, geography. If you don't know geography, you don't know the globe. So as there is a saying, if you move around the globe, you don't need to either you read the books so that you go around the world, or you read atlas. So I did both. I seldom read books until I reached some stage, and I did have atlas with me wherever I go to know before, there were the days where there was no Google. So atlas, the hard copies was to guide me through. Well, wading through these, you call it as the millennium periods. We were all the pre-millennials born, and then there is a lot of things to understand. So after my engineering, as I said, the TVS on in electronics industrial building, I had an opportunity to build a large industrial plant. That's for the Birla 3M. Aditya Birla Group and 3M American group. So one of the Fortune 500 companies. It was for a tape manufacturing unit in
Mm-hmm.
Bangalore. So in 25 acres of land from the scratch, that's where I started building industrial buildings. This is where, like a lot of things come into, other sub branches of engineering. Although my core subject was civil engineering, which I had good knowledge in study wise. Um, Later on, some parts of electrical engineering, air conditioning was all in bits and pieces as to knowledge about Ohm's law, what is electricity, like all those rheostat and all that. But the physical application comes at a later stage in a very, mega sizes. So nothing becomes irrelevant to you. So whatever you get to know, try to catch. What advice that I would say to youngsters is that whatever is knowledge around you, try to grasp it, grab it. So grab it, grasp it, grab it, and try to nurture around for those things. So then that's where that in that project I learned, apart from civil. Of course, there's a lot to learn in civil. Even today, I am not 100%. So I'm incomplete in that aspect, being. So I learned electromechanical, pure electrical, be it substations, be it connections to heavy motors, heavy pumps, and also there are a lot of industrial equipments that are required, be it nitrogen gas, be it the compressors, be it generators. So that's on the other side of the technical inputs for the industry to make it run. As a plant itself, had huge plants and machineries. So it's one of the greatest kind of an industry. You can always take that swatch tape that 3M manufactures, Scotch tape. It may appear to be very simple, to understand, how it comes, but there's a lot of things goes inside. So I
Yeah.
understood that knowledge of chemistry was required because there is a lot of they use rubber, they use kind of a plastic, and they use the toluene. So what they do is that they mix up rubber with toluene gas to melt at certain temperature, and goes through melting bath, and then there is a plastic cylinders which is a roll unroller. So then the hot bath of the rubber solution with toluene, the plastic goes inside and then goes into the more than 5,000 rollers in different temperatures,
Oh, wow.
go into an inert gas oven, which is at a higher temperature. So it's a risky chamber, 120 meter by 60 meter industrial shed. So that's where the tape get manufactured. And I had a chance to install the one of the second biggest toluene plant cylinders, the storage plant, three of them, 45,000 liters of three of those things. So it's all, the great experience, I would say, right from fabrication, air conditioning, humidification, and the state of the art finishes, expectations of the client, moving with, the multinationals, multicultural, to understand, their dialects. I had Americans, I had British, I had Germans, I had Israelis who came to install the plants. So then that was the turning point. You need always a spinning point where you turn either to fall or to gain. So that was the turning point project where I put my heart and mind. I used to climb. I was just as young as 25, so 26. So I used to climb the trusses, steel trusses structures, which were at 70 meters high. No
Oh,
safety,
wow.
no. Those were the days safety was given the least importance, especially in this region. So a lot of risk. God protected me all the way. He had his own net to protect me. So with all this, learning never stopped. So and I grew with very, very great technocrats. So who are my gurus, I would say, be it from a consultant side. They took me as their kids, as their children, and then they educated me wherever. Something that a key word that I never forget in my life is three-letter word is called ASK, ask. If you don't ask, you don't get anything. Be it a doubt, to clear it. So I had this, I don't know, somehow I had either I was very inquisitive or curious to know, anxious to know what is something which I did not understand. I was very open, and then I told my general manager, Bill Lafquist, I didn't understand certain things, so you have to guide me. So I was very open. So I took like a sponge, whatever came on my way, the good things, of course. So then I joined few other organizations in India. So I had total 7 years of experience, Bini real estate. So I covered certain industries over here, from industrial buildings, and I joined Windsor Manor Hotel. That was an excellent experience. So if you see in Bangalore and the Sankey Road, I put up 100 rooms of expansion. What you see the front face, there is a similar face on the back side, so which now become one piece. So I had a lot of interactions with great architects, Kiran Patki from Mumbai, and so many other engineering divisions. So we had to go with an existing operation, build 100 rooms back. And that was the time when we had the several meets happening while the construction was happening.
Mhm.
Meeting, uh, uh, it's what you call that, CHOGAMs, which is called Commonwealth Head meet in Bangalore. So all the prime ministers of several countries was there, including the Prime Minister of India that time, Rajiv Gandhi. Suit was prepared by myself before his arrival. So we need to revamp those suit in an existing building, and the security high security implementations during the constructions. And I was there as young as 26, 27. So I was given the full in charge of one is the construction, the protection, the security coordinations with the construction team vis-a-vis the several operations of the hotel, including the so-called the police and the paramilitary, paramedics, everybody. So that,
Mhm.
patient almost like 24/7, I used to come home only for sleep for few hours and get. So great learning, great experiences. So then I spent some time with Bini Real Estate, learned a lot of things on how to do the paperwork. Again, thanks to my guru, OK Rajendran. He was son of a barrister at the British time,
Okay.
and he had a great skill of dictating 4 to 5 pages without preparation, just extemporaneous, but yet cover all the points. He used to say full stop, comma. Lot of learning him about letter writing, how to address the letter to the government authorities and non-governmental officials, techno-commercials, what to see in a letter, and then space management in a letter, content management. And there is also what you say, addressing specifics of a letter, what is important to be addressed as point wise, so that it catches the eye, what you call as the bullseye. So the critical issues, address it, and it used to have commercial, technical viability. We used to have meetings prepared for a board meetings. So I learned a lot of things out of him. So from that was my last assignment in India. Then later on, I moved to Middle East. My first job was in Dubai for a contracting company. Well, that was again a journey where I learned a lot of things from the foundation, and what the system, which is civil engineering system, then adopted in India, was totally a north and south kind of a thing, like totally uncomparable to the
Different, yeah.
system adopted in Middle East or in Dubai. It was set to an international standards, be it crane erection, be it the safety, lot of foundation system itself, lot of piling work, dewatering systems. It will be interesting for a civil engineer. I don't know how far you will understand as being a computer. I understood from your background. As a civil engineer, it will be very interesting if someone is interested as a thorough civil engineer or an architect. So he would be definitely interested to work in such projects. So I learned things out of I was in charge of a 50-story tower on Sheikh Zayed Road. And in charge simultaneously, I had to take care of a group of 36 villas and one hospital project. So they had 3 things to take in a day. My day is to start as early as 6:30 sharp in the morning in Dubai. I use whether it is winter or summer. There used to be a kind of a very, I would say, like winters like Delhi in Dubai. It 10 degrees, 12 degrees like that for a few days in a month. And windy days. And in summer, it's going to be, it used to be like 45, 48, high humidity, sandstorms. If someone else would be there, I said, Papa, why you should learn so many things, and then I will go back to some air conditioning systems. Fortunately, my system didn't allow me because I was very curious to learn many things. Uh, well, there I learned a lot of things from my bosses, people around. I learned a lot of things from my worker too. Learned a lot of things from my line operators, line managers, line foremen, down the line. Everybody taught me something or the other. Mostly good, I would say. Like, beat the system, sir, aisa nahi hai, because it doesn't work in this country like this, how you are working. This is how it works here. So a lot of education gone into. So I consolidated my understanding about the civil engineering subject. I would say rather the thorough civil engineering implementation happened in that project, and thereon in most of the projects in Dubai, they do adopt thoroughly and meticulously the concept of civil engineering from a design phase to the execution and to the final handover. And ultimately, the end user, smile on their face, because when you go to a restaurant, you don't like to have a pizza served with nastily dressed or no taste. So I had to give the taste or a flair to the building, the mint condition, so that moment they come and occupy, they should feel it is fresh, it is mint, and it is something different, it is something extraordinary, for which the money has been spent by their pocket. So there should be a justice to the payment that they have made. So there a lot of ethics goes into someone's success. Okay, so you have to have the professional ethics, you have to have an executional ethics, you have to have technical ethics, and all these, the factor of safety, because you are taking the risk of when you're building a tower of 50 stories, the high wind speed, high sandstorms, yet, up to 5 floors, 6 floors, there was not a tough game for us. And as you reach more than 10 floors, the wind speeds used to be, I don't know how many knots per, minute or an hour. The highest, the heavy scaffoldings used to swing like a kite. So we had to hold crane until, there is a lot of techniques goes into. In fact, I climbed once the crane seating to I understand what is the fate of a crane operator who just climbed morning at 8 o'clock and comes back for lunch at 1 o'clock. He has to have his bio breaks. So it's impossible for someone. Maybe water, he just takes it through the crane, but how about for his bio breaks? So maybe he has a can there to, give his,
Yeah.
so these are the things what got interested to me. And then, he's a lone person. He has to make a huge decisions. It always, if you somebody to talk about is for Burj Khalifa, the tallest tower,
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
tallest tower, the crane operator was paid highest than the engineer at site in charge. Okay, so it makes a lot of sense for someone to build an 828-meter tower. So a lot of learning got into. Then later on, I moved to a company called Wimpy Tarmac, which is a British multinational company. I built the World Trade Center in Dubai.
Oh,
Then
wonderful.
the exhibition halls, 8 exhibition halls. And then I built a road highway interchange in that particular. It was with the Wimpy Tarmac. And also, I was in charge of a huge mall called Al Futtaim Daira City Center. So, in my career of my hardcore construction, I was to have built the entire or most gamut of civil engineering. So varied five-star hotels in Bangalore, industrial buildings, and residential condominium. So many buildings came into my hand, group villas, hospital. So all the infrastructure, road, highways. And then I moved to a company called ETA Ascon. That's where I got into techno-commercial, literally how a tender is made, tender planning. So the cost element that is involved. So up until then, I was into the hardcore on-field.
Buildings.
So what happens in the site? I was totally in an outside world. I was exposed to sun, wind, moon, rain. So now suddenly I got into air conditioning place where I learned. I was in an office atmosphere. I learned from quantity surveying, tender planning, and into the got into the grooves of business development. That's where I would thank my bosses, Mr. Ismail and Gopal, who are in the tender team. And later on, the super boss was Abid Junaid, who was US educated. Is again the second turning point for me after the Birla 3M. So he spun me around the various directions, various degrees, but keeping me as a center. So he had so much confidence in me. So he said one day, why don't you join me as a business development manager? So then I said, I don't know much. So he said, already you're doing it. So you're skillful enough to do that. So enough of this. So come to the strategy building and come to the business building, business strategy. So I learned a lot of things from him. And then I became an ambassador to him over a period of time, learning through him everything, I for detailing, again, drafting letters, addressing people, and moment how to, when you get a guest for you or any company to come to do business with you, even from seeing the visiting cards, the way you exchange the visiting cards, and what use when you get a visiting card, you should see what are the content in it. Immediately, you should put it into your mind. And whenever you meet a person, it's bound to that over a period of time, you try to forget him, his name, or a company where he works, or his position, or even the date. So I learned a lot of things from him. So he taught me, whenever you see the card, try to put it into your brain first. His name, his qualification, his position. Then see at the back of the card, some people will have their brands printed. Of course, that was a time there was no e-card. It was all the, I would say that
Printed cards.
hard copy was still in vogue, and now also people recognize to have their visiting printed. Well, this is where the identity goes. So you should have and not get into the identity crisis. So you have to represent with something. So then even taught me how to deal with a business. And well, that is a time when all my 17 years of my hardcore civil engineering experience came very handy with techno commercial. Then I used to be sitting on a table, across the table, sit with the client, understand their requirements. And then if somebody wanted to build a couple of towers, and then I would say, by rule of thumb, and this is what is the cost going to be. It's going to cost you 200 million dirhams, 300 million dirhams. My duration is something like, I would take 48 months, 36 months. And my deliverance is that is where, you have to have your KPI and KRA.
Data.
So you have to put KPI and KRA to your own self in your growth chart. So unless you put those KPI and KRA, you will not, I'm sure, not succeed. So the success brings success. So this is where, you need also a boss who recognizes your talent. Apart from talent that you have, it is this person who recognized my talent, not only myself, but across the organizations. He totally revamped everybody's. In fact, he raked like a toast that everybody had some hidden talent that which was not properly identified. So he took almost, I would say, 150 staff around, brought over totally a different culture into the organization, and that's how. So I would say that my culture also changed all along with him. And that was a time when Dubai had a growth between 2004 and 2010. So I happened to meet lot many construction companies, mostly from Japan, Far East Asia, Southeast Asia, and rest of the Europe, US, few parts of US, and a lot of Korean companies, a lot of Chinese companies, African companies. So I had a chance to more than 37 countries.
Brilliant.
And most of the African countries, apart from the Middle East, countries, the Gulf countries, I would say. So I traveled left, right, center, covered most of these seas, and then I kind of the confidence my boss gave me as Madan, certain things I can't do. You represent myself. So he had that much confidence to execute. So I used to make it happen by his guidance, and then my own intelligence, and a lot of. I always believed I took a lot of my team members. I took them into confidence, and in the meantime, I had to train them a lot of things which I learned. I did not stop at learning myself and leaving at my table or my knowledge over here, because once you learn something, you don't give it back to the community or your own subordinates. You may think that, okay, they will catch up your rope, and then it is not so. Like whatever I have to my own credibility. Maybe what you give to somebody might add to his growth. He cannot be super bossing you, because you have your own credibility, you have your own knowledge, your own approach, and other person, for example, what knowledge you have, I may not have. The way you approach people can be different than what I approach, but you have to see the end results. So that's what gets out of you. So be it an entrepreneur, be it at a company level, there is some entrepreneur who expects you to, who feeds large mass at, they have an ambition to feed so many people there. That's why, my boss used to say, so we had a company which is the 6 billion US, 6.5 billion US dollar turnover with 75,000 people, 70, branches in 35 countries to 40 countries spread over. So 35,000 people. So the of the company at that time had around 35 years of completion. And a company called like Infosys, we were interviewed in one place with FICCI India. Like we came for a conference in Delhi. So my boss and myself was interviewed. He said 70,000 people, and Infosys has got 10% of them, 6,000 people, and then their turnover at 7.5 billion US dollar that time. I don't remember. It must be in 2004 or 2005, if my numbers were to be correct. So then we said, our company is engineering, and it's people oriented, and we had to make our hands, wet and mucky when we build. It's not like an IT software company. So their trade is different. So obviously their turnover, their are different. Although it is people dependent, they are technology dependent. So we are a people dependent. So that makes a lot of difference. So that's where, a lot of knowledge beyond your technical. These are other things that I'm talking. It doesn't speak to me about civil engineering at all. So where a civil engineering can be taken to into a very different level, it's unimaginable. So you need a platform. You need a platform to fly. You need to have all those things. I shouldn't say that I am being humble as you started. Maybe it's your virtue that you identified one person to be humble to be. Well, that adds on to your success. So you maybe have reached some place, and yet you have to be humble. Financial gain is one thing. So, but automatically, when you have all these qualities with you, you automatically your purse become dearer to you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I think that's a very exclusive and an extensive list of things that you have done, right from starting with the 3M, your explanation of how a overall industry is generally moving out of what is like a theory of what you learn from school or a finishing school to working on the site for some time, moving from one stage to another, pivoting your career, the whole space of having mentors and people to basically work with you, experimenting with change and basically doing it. I am a little more curious in terms of how was your experience as an individual, like as a person moving from a small place from Tumkur to a large arena in say the Dubai and beyond. How was that experience and how was that transition?
See, the good question, like you have to be adaptable to a change. So accept the change with a smile. I think that was the key coin that I had, because I always had a greater KPI. So to achieve that KPI, I had to have look into the key result areas. So these are the things which gave me wherever the opportunity comes, I thought I should not miss it. So that's how I accepted with a smile, with a lot of things that I had to forego. When you want to achieve certain things, you have to leave certain things. So to gain something, you have to leave something. So be it family, be it separations. I think you have to accept it with a smile, these changes. The change doesn't come with as is where you are. So you have to get something to move out some place.
Very interesting that you bring the whole concept of accepting things with a smile. But it's as and when you grow through life, things move, people move with you, and then moving beyond your known family circles and going into another place. For you, again, like I said, you are curious to learn a lot of things in your space. But how's it in a new land, in a new space with your family? I have come to understand that when you moved to Dubai, your kid was just around, and it was a toddler. And to have moved from there towards pursuing something to follow your dreams must have been a difficult journey in terms of the emotions that come through.
Well, see, it generally come you have to be emotional. You have to be tough on your emotions. For a certain point of time, I couldn't have my family, and later on they joined with me. So the missing was there, and then but I was gaining somewhere. I was compensated somewhere else. So that was keeping me happy to go through. I'm going to achieve certain things, and then where everybody will be together. And fortunately, Dubai was not a strange place, and the people were not strange around. So I did not feel that much to accept the change and honor the change. But later on years, I made the family stay in Dubai, and then whenever I moved to a different countries, different places, so it's all a different experience. So when you went to Japan, you need to be very time conscious. Well, that's one thing, good thing I learned. I had around 500 plus Japanese friends even today. So a lot of learning thing, ikigai, purpose of your life. And then what do you call that? You have change management. And then there is called something called that every day you need to change yourself, improve on yourself. That
Yes, sir.
TQ, all these jargons that I use as TQM, total quality management. Lot of things matters to your growth. The way you dress, the way you behave, the way you catch their language. Okay, sometimes the how to respect them. Few dialects you may not understand from the way they speak. So sometimes even if you know the language, you should pretend that I don't know to know what they are speaking. And in Middle East, you should know Arabic. So I try to catch up few Arabic, words and phrases, at least to greet them and meet them. And during meeting, they feel happy when you learn languages. So I had passion to learn languages and their culture, gel with them. That's what is the secret. And in as far as India is concerned, I had the passion to learn about 6 languages to speak, including my mother tongue. So they used to call me as parrot in the company. So that is so there is a success story that you should. Lot of things matters for you.
Absolutely. So now can I be curious and ask you, so how many languages do you know in total that you can converse in and understand?
No, no. Of course, 6 Indian languages to converse. Few to read and write, and Arabic to an extent of 10 to 15%. Few words in Japanese, and few words in German language, and then Turkish. Few words are more or less that's used in Hindi and Urdu. So these are the languages that I would understand. When we went to South of America, Brazil, those places, it's a different language. And then Dutch language was very, very tough to understand, even to follow. So I did not try much like that way.
So, what was one, I don't know, you can feel free to share many experiences, but what is one experience from working with, say, people from different nationalities that you've come to really, appreciate?
When I worked with Japanese, few things, a lot of things came into my this thing. One is the system. They all of the Japanese or the Japanese companies depended on system dependent world than an individual dependent. That's where you have to be. And then adoption of technology in vogue with what's happening around. So you should know what's happening in the market before you venture into a new market. So they make a lot of fundamental basic studies before you venture into any of your business, be it onto your business propositions or be it concluding a contract, how the things are concluded. So when we went to Japan, I should know what their contract conditions are, what their international standards that they follow. So in the process, I had to be beyond engineer. I had to be lawyer as well. So I had to go through a lot of agreements, catch what is important in legal terms, techno-commercial implications. So this is where my boss taught me what are the key things that you should see. The trade secret that in an agreement. So he was quite open, like, Madan, these are the trade secret. You're into business development. You have to conclude your business means you should know all these things. That's it. So he taught me those lines, and then he just gave me 2, 3 steps, and then I climbed the rest of the steps. But I've not reached the steps that he has reached. Nevertheless, so I have followed his success footsteps.
So,
And when it comes to Koreans, they do follow the same systems. But when it comes to the other part of Africans and all that, so they have a different system. There are a lot of learning that, of course, goes with each individual's, be it a countryman or be it, their own background. It's not that every time I met people from the technical background, not necessary. Most of the C are not even educated, or some people are educated in a different subject. They were more commercial. Some people looked into more of commercial aspects. Some people looked into technical aspects. Some people looked into legal aspects. So wherever there is a shortfall, so I used to take help of my, so there is something called finance for non-finance people. So I went into that course to understand a lot of jargons. A lot of chartered accountants sit with me, and then they keep telling me balance sheets, and then ratios, different ratios, and then turn, fixed asset, liabilities, and then when it comes to procurement, various jargons used in procurements, then LCs, letter of credits, lot of things, banking formalities, lot of things come into, when it comes to the management, you're supposed to know everything about. You should know banking, you should know legal system, you should know HR. So how people management is the important thing. So you alone cannot achieve. So this is what I learned very, very specifically. So you alone cannot achieve. You have to grow with the team. So take the team into confidence. So everybody is not 100%. So I'm not 100%. So I may be reaching in my own, say, 70%, but I'm complemented with my assistants. So then how to make it into one? The burger is not just one item. There are a lot of accessories goes into this. You'll say pizza, it has got a dough, it has got vegetables, it's got onions, it has got so many cheese. So things then only it becomes. So it's kind of a teamwork that you should always believe. I believe strongly with the teamwork, and that was, I took confidence. I trained them wherever there is a lacuna in them. So I tried to fill them up. And if they really didn't come up to my expectation, I had to send them for training and get trained myself. So there were some areas where I was falling short. I told my boss that I should get into my training. Fortunately, our company had a lot of training sessions, so which helped me beat ISO, for example. So when you have ISO, doing the right thing first time and every time. So that is what you have to adopt to get into a good success. Because once damage, again, it is a damage. So you should avoid damages.
that is a lot of interesting things that you shared. So I've also observed very strongly that, irrespective of your experiences with many other nationalities, many types of people, that you've remained rooted to your, to the country, to the traditions, to different aspects of the spiritual side of life. So, what keeps you, be able to manage all of these things and do it effectively?
Your roots are your spirits. That's why you are to be spiritual. So what keeps you happy, that is very important. So whatever the spiritual, activities that you are going to do, that keeps your brain to accept and receive things. And you have to receive other persons, their spiritual things equally, so that there is something that you can take, out of them. There's always used to be takeaways from cross learning from any other culture. So you have to break the culture yourself. You cannot be like a cocoon that, okay, I stick on to my culture, my home, my country, my countrymen. Yes, of course, the fundamentals are there because the same fundamentals are, shown up in a different, way. We go to somewhere else. Basic concepts remain same wherever you go. After all, we are human beings. Across the world, human remained as human, animals remained as animals. So the behaviors may be varying, but as long as the human don't behave like an animal, animal don't behave like a, it should not really matter much. But is the one that, okay, I have open arms, you should accept it. So then only they become friends. You break the barrier, you go one step into there, they will come 100 steps back to you. And that's how we become, irrespective of caste, region, community, whatever it is. So you have to mix with them. I'm a pure vegetarian, so to eat with a non-vegetarian, you should accept it. So this, because this is how their way of life. My way of life is this. After 57 years, I have not eaten non-veg, so I can't accept something that you can't enforce on me certain things. But other things, yes. So be with them, mingle with them, try to know what they eat. They will be interesting to know what you eat.
So very interesting that you brought out the whole concept of being vegetarian. So that was a question that was also forming in my head, saying for a vegetarian to be working and basically interacting with so many, like you'll have a lot of lunch meetings, dinner meetings. So any interesting experience that you have, that can be a funny anecdote or an interesting anecdote for anybody who's listening.
Well, wherever I went, I used to be a grass eater like a cow. So I used to get salad, fruits, bakery products were available. Bread everybody eats. So the rice very rarely we used to get. When you go to Europe and all that, rice is a commodity, which I don't used to really get it. So I used to manage with fruits and bread. But in one instance where I had a Bugandan queen hosted by an African origin, Indian origin, African passport, African settled British passport holder in Dubai. So that's how globalization that guy was. So how is the definition of globalization? People always react to the Lady Diana's death, but I correlate to my food to answering to your question. Like this guy hosted a Bugandan queen table of 20, and I was the only vegetarian and that too Indian, so I had to fight around those people. But they all eat all the five giants of African animal. So a lot of non-veg was displayed on the dining table, along with whatever the grass that I also ate. So I kept on eating the grass, the bread, the few things. And then that lady Bugandan queen asked me, so why you're not eating the meat or chicken, fish? No, I don't eat because I'm not an animal eater. So you think she got defended very badly. I answered, so I've been not eating for so many ages. So it doesn't relish me eating those things. So you have to excuse me. No, it's not table manners. So you cannot say it's a disgusting thing to a host. The host was speechless because she is a Bugandan queen. And then this intervened is again an Indian origin, Gujarati. No, this is how the system in India. So we're not been exposed to it. So very few places. So I went to a place which is Kabul in Afghanistan. So there I asked for a rice. So he came with the meat, and then I had to separate the meat, and I said no, I can't eat these things. So similar experience in Seoul. I went then to eat in a small restaurant for a stopgap, filling my tummy. So they had mixed a lot of things with the noodle. I said, I only make noodle with salt and pepper, boil it and give me. So I had to gulp it to quench my hungry.
Interesting experience. So food brings people together. Food brings cultures together. Food gives very interesting experiences. And one experience that is a standard from Bungidasa's podcast is I think we've zoomed in on your success stories. I just want to zoom out to a point where now, how was your experience as a young kid from Tumkur to Srirampura to Rajajinagar to Singh? So, what were some of the things that you did in your early childhood that were very interesting experiences to hear for us?
Srirampura is all primary, pre-primary school days and all that. So again, got to study with good intellectuals like Dr. Shantala. Now she's a OBG surgeon, and then we a lot of being a student and a good student, and studies was my primary attraction. And along with in the schooling days, like yoga, Surya Namaskar, which is also keeping me fit till today. Like I do go for a long walk. Used to swim. These days I've stopped swimming. So a lot of yogasana, asanas, which I still do, Surya Namaskar. So that's where the root culture is about. But asana doesn't mean that it is restricted to Indians or in India. But that's where my school taught me. And the college days, of course, was, growing days to learn a lot of things, competitive days, competitive, you have to edge over the competition. You have to be 1 in 100 or 1 in 10 to be super positioning yourself for qualifying examinations. Challenges were there, and good teachers were around to me to properly channelize me to what I am. Of course, the parents supported me quite a lot. So later on stages, my wife was a very good support. Sudha was a quite success. You need there is always a saying, there is a woman being a man's success. So she has been supporting, lady for during my thick and things. So you need somebody to support you all along. So you have your own weakness, somebody else builds up the strength in all along your career. Be it a mother, be it a father, be it a friend. A friend also is very important. So, while a good friend was one who brought me into Birla 3M. And then to be very fortunate, all my ventures, my endeavors were I had not applied anywhere except my first job to the Middle East. Everything came from reference. So why reference comes to the success story is that that's why the concept of success you coined it is that you have to be concentrating on what you want to achieve. So this is where is very important to achieve success.
So, if you had to give any advice to, say, a 20 or a 30-year-old Madan going back, what would be some life advice or career advice that you would like to give from your experience that you've gained so far?
Learn, try to have, urge to learn, have passion towards what subject you want to do. Don't do something which is not passionate to you, and be good with your people. Be it your manager or anybody, and learn from them. Be a mentor, be a mentee. So that's why during all this process, whatever you have learned, you have to keep transferring to your next generation. This is what I want to give back. So this is the key word that you should follow in your life to be successful. Hard work, dedication, and accepting things as it is. These are the things which will be successful parameters, I would say.
That's wonderful. I think accepting things as they are, as and how they come, is a very integral part of who we are. And through the conversation, it's become evident that whenever an opportunity has come along, you've basically moved out of your orbit, moved toward different challenges, and also had your own success stories. So everybody learns from successes. Everybody sees success. Everybody sees an overnight start, an overnight sensation. But a lot of things happen in the background. There are a lot of failures that, or a lot of setbacks that push you along. So, what helped you actually work through some of the setbacks that you've had in your career or in your life that so far?
Uh, I cannot figure out what setbacks that I had. My maybe the knowledge of not acquiring certain things. If you ask me, maybe I couldn't catch during the process of the transition of the computer era. So the very first computer I saw was in 2004, 2002, if I'm right, on a mass scale. I think it is a 2000, I think. So that, or 99, if I'm correct, it's 99. That's where that 2000 bug was there, no? What was that called? There was a,
Correct. So rollover bug.
yeah, something like that. So that's where the millennia also coined out. So there was a bug called, so 2009, 1999 or something like that was the first.
Yeah.
So I forgot the bug called. So I trying to find what the computer looked like a rocket machine to me. Like, it is not understanding command that if I do something, something else is coming. I always thought the screen itself is the computer. So that was the the setbacks. Like that was one difficult thing that which became a challenge to me. Accept as it is. So that is where I learned that no, there is somebody has found something, then I should be learning it. So I learned Word, I learned a lot of the MS software built into that, all the programs, um, you know. Unfortunately, that was the beginning of computer system, computer era, and then electronics. The civil engineering had only a Fortran 4 program. So even they did not have the, subjects to cover up those things. So as the technology changed, so we had to adapt to this. So I still feel that I'm not good in Excel. So unfortunately, so that's a setback. So if you may do mental mathematics, you may do calculators and all that. If Excel you are knowing, then I would say that he's a super champion. So
Yeah.
there are guys who came across me, my QS and all that. So after some stage of my management, so I had to depend on my I don't get into the nitty gritties of it, micro or macro. I used to only see the macro levels. Micro levels, if someone has done a mistake, so you're supposed to know what mistake he has done when you're at the senior positions. You cannot say that I didn't know this. Later on, I learned the Excel, the implications and all that, but I am not a champion or a dada, you call it. So, but this is where is still I want to go for a learning program of Excel, which makes me perfect in that.
So I am really fascinated by curiosity that you still hold, and the desire to learn new things, work with your challenges, and all of that. So and I'm also to understand that this is your first podcast. So how was your experience in this podcast?
With Pungi cast is the first time, but I had several interviews or such deliverance in rest of the other places. But it was quite interesting in this region to deliver these things. But I would say that it was quite interesting. I would say the takeaway during this discussion is that success story. Few things, jargons, I would use it, or be it words, the hard work, dedication, involvement, then passion to what you want to do. And then you stretch beyond what you want to achieve certain things. Okay, so fix KRA, KPI, and you fix at one age every 5 year where I have to be, every 10th year where I have to be, every 15th year where you have to be, every 20th year where you have to be. So be it in an organization level, be it in your financial level. So financial matters. So in an organization, I wanted to be a general manager when I had to reach at 40 years. So that was my thing. But it took me 2 more years to reach a general manager position. So for various reasons, obvious reasons. So you have to evaluate yourself. There is something called in Japanese called continual improvement. There is one word I forgot that there's a word coined for continual improvement in Japanese. So you have to have those continual improvement adopted in your life. If you're brushing for example, the way it is like if you're brushing only once a time in a day, you have to do twice or thrice to keep yourself fit. So what gives you something to gain? So you do it repeatedly or an improvised version. So this is what is the key word that I would say. And for a civil engineer, if you happen to podcast these or someone has to interesting to hear, keen to know about it, is that there is no, dearth they should not feel that there is no job for a civil engineer. So initial days are testing times like any other branches, but later on, you can be entrepreneur yourself because you have to learn a lot of things before reaching to that places. So you can be joining into the quantity surveying, you can be joining into the execution, hardcore execution, you can be into program planning, you can be into the management like after I reached, so you can be into the sales and marketing. So a lot of there is also the civil engineering covers the more gamut, more, it has got a wide branches, unlike computer science or electronics, which is a more channelized to one. For example, I will give you in civil engineering, you can go to building, you can go to in buildings, you can go to hotel, industrial buildings, residential, villas, hutment, mass, developments, low cost housing, high cost housing, middle class housing. A lot of choices that you have. Come to industrial, low, medium scale, high scale, heavy industries, light industries, and you go to a highway, roadways, highways, airport, runways, all the transport which covers transport, be it shipyard, construction of a shipyard. So that's where I also worked for ship maintenance yard in Dubai. So I had covered that as well. And then I built one airport in Dubai. The control tower and then the runways, and then a highway project in India. Then you have hydro projects, you have power projects. So skyscrapers, malls, unimaginable, things around you. You will not see electronics around you. So you will see a lot of buildings, varieties of buildings. This is where engineering lies, which I understood the later part of my life. So there is a lot of things for a civil engineering as long as you have an eye for detailing. You see beyond yourself, beyond your eye, beyond the horizon. So there is something else for a civil engineer. There is always, there is a saying in civil engineering, the building is, construction is for destruction, destruction is for construction. It never stops because there is a life expectancy for a building, maybe 50 years or 35 to 40 years. So every 30 years, a building goes to a revamp. At every 50th year, it goes for a reconstruction or a remodeling. So civil engineering has a scope. Maybe they overproduce civil engineering today's time, but there is always a scope for everyone.
So spoken like a true passionate, civil engineer, and thank you for giving us such a large, foray into what civil engineering is, specifically for people like me who have no idea what civil engineering is, the detailings of it, the whole array of things that you can do with that. I can safely say that this has been one of the most interesting podcasts that I have been hosting. I've got to learn a lot of things. I am sure that my listeners and viewers are also going to be enjoying it. And maybe I'd just put it out there to all those who are passionate and would like to, maybe get in touch with Mr. Madan or any of these in terms of consulting or just having an experience share. I can safely say that on behalf of him, he'd be, really happy to have you and put those questions.
By all means, by all means, I'll be more happy to share my experiences, thoughts, and be advisory to them and consulting to them. Not an issue.
Yes. So with that, with that note, I would like to, formally thank you for being a part of this podcast, to helping me open this year's podcast with something that has been truly fascinating to hear. And I have enjoyed the entire podcast, and I hope you have too. So, with your permission, I'd like to essentially put a pause to this podcast. Maybe when our paths cross again, come back for another episode, more interesting things from you in terms of your own life experiences on the field and off the field.
Thank you so much, Sunil. And indeed, I'm very happy at it. And then really happy to have you on board sometime next, or any of your friends who would be interesting. Thanks a lot. Bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye. Take care.
Bye bye. Take care.
Until next time, we return with another episode. Take care, have fun, and be curious.